Hi, welcome to another episode of Latino Loud. My name is Lydia Guzman. I'm with Chicanos por la Causa and Chicanos por la Causa Action Fund. We're hoping that you're enjoying our content. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe. We'd love to bring you more. So today we have two very exciting guests. We have Cristian Avila with LatinX, and we have Monica Sandschafer with Mi Familia Vota. Welcome both.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, it's so exciting to be here.
Latino Loud! Brought to you by Vota, Chicanos por la Causa Action Fund.
So first, Cristian, let me start with you. We are in the midst of an election year. Arizona is a battleground state, and tell me the work that Poder does.
Yes, thank you for having us, Cristian Avila, National Programs Director for Poder LatinX. And as you mentioned, Arizona is at the eye of the hurricane, ¿no? Estas elecciones. So we're doing everything that we can. So we're doing voter registrations, we're doing GOTV. We're also having what we call our signature events. So we're talking about fun right before this, right? So we're having a big cabalgata at the early voting day on October 29th, where we're having including our Mexican culture into the whole movement and exciting people to get out to vote. We did it a few years ago, having horses go around Latino neighborhoods, getting everybody excited, drive them to the polls, and just have a big fiesta out in the polls. And then also tapping into our Chicano movement and the Chicano culture. We're having a Cruise to the Polls action on November 1st, bringing the celebrating National Civic Engagement Latina Days, having some of the car clubs that are led by women, bring their lowriders, bring some vehicles out to the same idea with the cabalgata. We'll go around to some of the neighborhoods and push them out to some of the voter registration polls. We're also doing a lot of online voter registration, activations through online. But yeah, that's in bulk. That's what we're doing right now.
So I'm glad that you mentioned Chicanos, because I know that Chicanos por la Causa was started by Chicano students. This was over 55 years ago when they were they gathered to form this group. Before it was Chicanos por la Causa. They were talking about the inequities in education, and they, besides protesting and besides doing some calls to action, they knew early on that in order to be heard, they had to empower themselves politically and empower the community that can also help them have a voice at the ballot box. And with that, I think this is one of those things where Chicanos por la Causa continues to this day. Our mission is quite simple. I mean, we drive political and economic empowerment. And so we're very happy to partner with organizations like Poder LatinX, like Mi Familia Vota, to help do that and to bring awareness about civic engagement. Now, Monica, I've known you for a long time, and I'm not going to say how many years. But
I was going to ask you not to.
but you've been very involved in engaging the community, talking to the community about civic participation. And I remember early on you were with an organization, and then the name of it turned to Lucha, and you were one of the first directors and leaders of Lucha. But now you're with Mi Familia Vota. So Mi Familia Vota has a strong national presence also. But tell us about your work at Mi Familia Vota.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just joined Mi Familia Vota. I'm very new, but I am the Arizona State Director for Mi Familia Vota and Mi Familia en Acción. And we are very much, just like Cristian was mentioning, we are very clear about what's at stake in this election, that it's truly the lives and livelihoods of our families and communities at stake, and potentially the very livelihood of our country and the survival of our country. We are out to protect reproductive rights. We are out working for a fair and just immigration reform. Somebody to address this climate crisis that we're all dealing with. This heat is unbelievable in late September, now October 1st. So we are also, leaving it all in the field, as they say. So we have registered 16,500 new folks to vote in Pima and in Maricopa counties, which we're very excited about. We are also knocking on doors in Latino and BIPOC communities, as well as other allied voters that we need in order to pass to pass the legislation that we need and to get the folks to who we need to represent us. So, it's a very values-focused operation, where we're talking to folks about what it is that you care about the most, and then connecting that, exactly like you said, connecting the issues that folks care about to the polls, and how it's at the polls that you make your voice heard and where you really truly have power.
And when you talk about some of those issues, like reproductive rights and education, as when Chicanos por la Causa started, but now we're seeing that our community has a variety of issues. I mean, these are the issues that every American is concerned with, right? But it's more impactful for the Latino community. But what are some of the things that you've heard when you engage voters?
So we. And especially today that we have the vice president debate, no? So we've been having watch parties on who on the different presidential candidates, right? And we try to do a survey beforehand and a survey after they watch the debate. And we've seen a little bit of contrast in some of the data that comes in with that. But the interesting part is that there's two issues that are the biggest highlight and the most important for some of our folks that are watching some of these debates. Is that's one is the economy, and then two, immigration. And I think that's not a surprise here. We're super close to the border. A lot of our families, we have mixed status families. A lot of us, well, not me, right? Pero muchas de nuestras familias that go out to Nogales, get some dental work. So the issue of immigration is very, very real to us. And that's one of the reasons why we also do citizenship workshops. But going back to the issues question, those two issues are going to be impacting our families the most, right? So making sure that we have affordable housing, making sure that we have well-paying jobs and paid care, paid leave. So todo eso in a nutshell, it's what we came here. We didn't come to this country for papers. We came here for a better life, and that includes a better education, better economy. And we're hearing this not only at the watch parties, but also at the doors when we're talking to different folks.
Yeah, and I wanted to just add exactly what you said in terms of the affordable housing. That's within economy, that is the biggest category that we're hearing from folks. Families are doubled and tripled up, right? Generations are doubled and tripled up, and folks are living in inadequate housing, and housing that, they're paying. The federal standard is that you're only supposed to pay 30% of your monthly income in housing, and I think what we know is, I think we're all pretty clear that most people are paying way more than 30%, and some folks are paying 50%, 60, 70%, and what you have left over is, a couple $100 to feed your children. That's not realistic. And the other thing, and we have a housing crisis in Arizona, and we have a deep housing crisis in Phoenix and Tucson, and the crisis has really hit the Latino community the hardest. The other thing we're seeing is healthcare. The cost of healthcare is always out of reach. Health insurance itself is so expensive, but then, even when you have health insurance, the copay on the medicines that you need are absurd, or you can't even get the medicines because they're not covered. So that's another issue that we're seeing a lot of as well.
So is the strategy then when we're talking to voters, are we talking to voters that are regular voters, or are we talking to voters that, or people that are registered to vote that never voted, or what are the strategies that's most effective?
So I think at the beginning of the year, we try to focus on making sure that everybody's registered, right? So for Poder LatinX here in the state of Arizona, we have a little bit over 20,000 voter registrations collected for the year. So that's going to be our main priority for the first part of the year. And then the second part of the year, we go into more of the GOTV, and we try to talk to people that are not going to get talked to by either any other campaigns, any other people, So we try to talk to low propensity voters and mid propensity voters, so that way we don't leave any votes on the table. So we want to make sure that our folks are well informed on one of the dates that are happening, what are important dates for elections, and then two, what are some of the issues, right? and also, having different different agendas. I think Project 2025 it's a big document that I think we need to start uplifting to really see. And we always talk about this is the most important election of our lifetime, but it truly feels like this is the most important election of our lifetime. So I think it's our due diligence to make sure that everybody knows what's at stake for us this election, and Project 2025 is one of those things that we really have to keep a close eye on.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I think since 2016, quite frankly, every election has been the election of our lifetimes. And this one is going to be definitive. Voters are going to choose what kind of future they want, what kind of future we want for our families, for our communities, for our neighborhoods, for our grandkids, right? Yeah. Do we want a future in which families are ripped apart, or do we want a future in which families can stay together and find and access a legal path to citizenship here in this country? Do we want a future where women can choose what to do with their own bodies in consultation with their doctors, or do we want one where politicians tell you what to do and you could potentially lose your life based on a law that makes absolutely no medical sense? There is a lot at stake right now. We are also talking to the same voters or similar voters, so I'm so glad we are, because exactly, these are voters that don't get targeted by candidates. They don't get targeted by the parties because they aren't high propensity voters. They can't be counted on, quite frankly, by the parties to turn out. They're voters that maybe the last time they voted was 2020 or 2016. And so we're talking to them about the importance of this election, what's at stake. We're also really heavily emphasizing young voters, as well as Latino and other voters of color, and we are prioritizing to voters that have just moved to the state.
Oh, nice! Because
we figure, if they just moved to the state, they're unlikely to have all of the most updated information about what's going on here in Arizona.
Interestingly, I had a conversation with the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, and they allowed me into their boardroom, and I spoke with them about being partners in ensuring that their clients who were buying a home, that they register to vote, or they at least offer them information about voter registration in the new homeowner packet, because they get like a new homeowner packet where they have information about where to turn on their lights, what the local school district is, et cetera, right, when you're a new homeowner. But also, we wanted to make sure that they were partners in voter registration, and so they agreed to do that. And so this is really exciting that we have partners like that see the value. Now, 2 years ago, it's a great idea. And 2 years ago, Chicanos por la Causa, when Chicanos por la Causa made a $10 million investment to do voter registration with Latino Loud, we also saw the importance. We've always known, just like all of us, we've always known that working on the low propensity voters, that when we invite them to vote, and when they start voting maybe once or twice, they become regular voters, right? And, when they are low propensity, you're absolutely right, Monica, the candidates and the parties aren't mailing them anything because they're not spending money on them, because they're not to be counted on. However, when we did what we did 2 years ago, we were able to see after the election, because after the election you can see the targets that you knocked on doors or send out mailers, and you can see that those folks came out to vote. We can't see who they voted for, but we can see that they participated and voted, right? Now, in doing so, I think that the efforts that were done with the collaboration 2 years ago made a difference in Arizona and saved Arizona from a very dark place. I mean, the Attorney General race alone was won by like 200 something votes, and I think that this just shows the power of the increasing strength of the Latino vote. ¿No es así?
That's exactly right.
And another example of that would be a Congressional District 3 race that just happened, right? It was won by 39 votes. It's crazy. It's crazy. 39 votes.
39 votes is the number of voters in my family, just so you know. I mean, ¿a poco no? Yeah.
It's like a couple canvases.
Right?
A couple door knocks. Yeah, we so Latinos right now are 19% of the electorate, but are expected to turn out, are expected to be 1 in every 4 voters in the presidential election, which means that Latino voters are going to turn out at a higher percentage than they're represented in the electorate. That shows some serious enthusiasm, some serious excitement, and a real awareness of what's at stake here, you know, and the importance of their vote. And it also reflects the decades of work that organizations like ours have done to make sure that voters feel empowered. What we know is that voters stay home when they don't feel like they have the information they need to make a good choice, because they know that their choice matters, right?
Yeah.
They know that it's going to have an impact. And so they want the information to do the right thing by their families and by their communities. And when we get them that information, they vote. When we talk to them, they vote. When we ignore them, they don't vote. That's just the way it works. And it works that way in any community, right?
Yes.
This is not specific to the Latino community. You have to talk to voters if you want them to turn out. And unfortunately, the Latino community gets the least amount of investment at the national level, which is why, again, it's so important that organizations like ours say, we're going to make this investment. We're going to make this work, because we know how important the Latino community is to Arizona's future and to the United States' future.
Right, and to all the candidates that are out there that are watching this podcast and perhaps trying to look and count on the Latino vote, we want to be courted. Show us some love, because we are flexing our political muscle with each and every election. Pero when we talk about the outcomes, and we talk about each and every election coming out stronger and stronger, there is something particular with this particular election and the targeting of Latinos, and from both sides, and they each have a different message about the Latino community. What do you say about that? Is that mobilizing us?
It is. I mean, I just I don't watch a ton of TV, but I just
who has time?
I just watched this movie on Netflix. It's George something, what a boxer, and they were talking about the championship being. I think when he gets to the championship for the fight for the world championship, they talk about the air is going to smell different, that the sun's going to come a little bit different. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen on Election Day. Whoever comes out, right, that day is going to be, the air is going to smell different. The sun is going to come out a different way. And I think we are working 100% to make sure that we leave it all. And we leave it all in the field, right? I think the elections, like the presidential elections, are going to be super, super important. But if we can bring a little bit of light back to Arizona on the propositions, there's some propositions that are going to be extremely, extremely important. Prop 314, Prop 139, right? It'll take us back some years if some of the things go back, right? I remember SB 1070 days. They were not really good days. They were not good days for us. They were not good days for immigrants here in Arizona. But it is not the same state as it was in 2010. Right. We already tasted change. Yes, we know what it takes. We know how to mobilize now. So I'm hopeful. And I'm glad to be in the same room as people like Monica and like Lydia, and that we have organizations that are going to give it all to make sure that our people win this election.
That's right. And they can try to roll back history, right? They could try to roll back the last 15 years with an SB 1070 2.0, but what they can't take away is what has been built, like you said.
Right.
The organizations, the knowledge, the sheer ability to turn people out. And to inform people and how connected folks are, and the number of voters that we've turned from low propensity voters to regular voters over the last 15 years. I mean, none of that can be taken away. And so, I've been asked, how do you think, do you think that the threats of political violence or some of these political attacks are going to dampen Latino voter turnout? And my answer is absolutely not. the Latino community here has been attacked for 15 plus years. Right. And is incredibly resilient, incredibly strong, and incredibly well organized. And I think what we're going to see is a great turnout that reflects that.
Right. And so we have an interesting dynamic this election also is that we have one of the longest ballots in probably in the history of Arizona.
It's a novel.
So it's going to be 2 sheets front and back. So it's going to be like 4 pages, right? And the interesting part about this is that I think it's going to behoove all of us to do our job in doing voter education because I remember somebody asked me once early on, do I need to vote every single issue on the ballot if I'm not familiar with everything? And it could be pretty intimidating, but I think when we start, and this is probably what we need to do as early voting is around the corner. I mean, I know that the voter registration deadline is October the 7th, and then the ballots get mailed on the 9th for those that are voting early. And by the way, there's still time to request an early ballot because the lines at the polls are going to be long because the ballots are so long. So if you have a chance, request your early ballot, vote by mail. That's the way to go. Now, but as in doing voter education, it's important to educate our voters that, for example, if there's some, people don't know everything about like all the judges, for example, or all the whatever. Vote on the issues that are important to them. Maybe the top of the ballot stuff, or maybe the ballot measures, or maybe the whatever. There are some issues that affect them directly, and I think this is where a lot of us are doing different sorts of messaging. What's your feel on that?
One of our core messages is vote up and down the ballot. It's going to be a long one. Take your time. Vote the entire ballot because the stakes are very high, and they're high. You said if we could bring a little light to Arizona, right? I mean, they're high all the way from federal down to your bond overrides for school districts, right? School districts are struggling. So it is important that people take the time and vote the entire ballot. And if you don't know exactly how you want to vote, our organizations, other organizations have ballot guides, and they can really, really help you sort through that. And if you want to see a couple different, opinions, you can check a couple different organizations. You can read up. Also, the Secretary of State or the County Recorder's Office sends out the voter guide, so you'll get that, which is just straight information. And so I think what I would say is informate, right? Like the information is out there. Get the information, call one of our organizations, and we can help you. But you really do want to try to vote up and down the ballot. Yeah,
I mean, I think the key here is, as you said, voting by mail, right? So you have the opportunity to digest that information. Is going to be a very, very long ballot. Like Monica mentioned, we have a ton of information on our websites. We have the voting guides, but most importantly, I think we all have that one person that we call whenever we're like, I don't know who to vote for. Like, I'm gonna call blah. Like, just give their personal opinion. Everybody has someone that is that is our go-to source for something, right? So we have it for when my car breaks down, I don't know who to call. We should have the same thing when we get to the ballot. It's like, oh, I need to call this person to walk me down the ballot, right? And I know a lot of us a lot of our community like to get the little sticker. So with the ballot, mailing ballot, you can take the time to do it at home and still go down to election day and drop it off and still get your sticker.
I love the stickers, by the way. They're great.
One day I'm going to get a sticker.
Very good. Very good.
Unos añitos.
And they've even started sending the stickers with your ballot.
That's correct.
Oh, really?
That's correct.
Yes.
Yep.
Which I have to say is great for the kids, too. They get excited that you're voting because they get to keep the stickers, make it a fun family affair.
Yes. And so one thing important also is families are going to be voting together at the dinner table. When we talk about the issues together, and sometimes mom's like, well, I don't know about this, or but this is that opportunity. One thing I do want to stress, and I'm looking at you, the viewer, make sure that when you're looking at your ballots, that you don't mix them up, because we want to make sure that your entire ballot goes in the envelope when you put it in, back in the mail, and you sign it you seal it, you date it, but when they open it and it looks like it has 2 first pages and then maybe the spouse has the 2 second pages, then we kind of messed up a little bit. So let's keep them straight, because this is going to be important. We want every vote to count, but we also want to make sure that we're careful about, when we exchange that information at the house, and we just keep our ballot and everything with our envelope. So.
And your ballot is private and secret, so no one knows how you vote. But it does have a scan code on it that matches your envelope. Mm-hmm. And so if you accidentally, put your brother's ballot in your sister's envelope, that is not, it's not going to count. So they are able to tell that too.
Right.
So that's the other thing. Just make sure it matches. Mm-hmm. It's such a good point.
Mm-hmm. So that's important. But, again, this is why it's important for the phone number to be on the outside, because you'll get a call from elections, or you get some, hey, guess what? And this is that opportunity also to, go out and cure your ballot, or, and if you lose your ballot, gosh, it's, I've lost my ballot before, just so you know. Mm-hmm. I've lost my ballot because I sat on it and I was going to look things up, and then by the time I sat on it, where did it go? So it was incredible. Luckily, they have other ways to catch your vote. You can go ahead and request an early ballot if you're still within time, or you can go to the poll on election day, and you can say, look, I lost my ballot. And what the elections officials will do is say, okay, we see that you were mailed a ballot, so they will give you something called a provisional ballot. And this provisional ballot, they'll let you vote on it, and then over at elections department, they'll see if there's no other vote that came in from you, they'll go ahead and count your provisional, which is good. But let's not try to, create more work. So, so it's important. So it's our job to do little things of voter education, little messages and that when we talk to the voters. I mean, besides all of the great work that you do, so.
Yeah, and on that message, I just want to emphasize that we should, I think the easiest way to vote is through the mail. But if we want to go and vote on election day, remember that if you're in line by 7 o'clock, you still get to vote, right? So even if the line is a half a block, as long as you get into the line before 7, you're still going to be able to vote. So please do not get out of the line. As long as you get there before 7, you're going to be able to vote. Please make your voice heard.
Mm-hmm. And you have to have ID and stuff, right? What do you have to bring with you?
That's right. You have to have ID that proves that you are who you say you are, and that you live at the address you live at. So you want to make sure that you take your driver's license or your state ID, quite frankly, that's the easiest, and make sure that it has your updated address. If you have moved and you have changed your voter registration, now's the time to update your driver's license. You can do it online and have them send you a new one. So if you have to go in person, you have your driver's license or your state ID. Mm-hmm. That's the easiest way to do it.
That's true. So with that, I know that we have a lot of work to do. The voter registration deadline, again, is October the 7th. And we can register to vote using either one of our websites. Go ahead, and I'm going to give each one an opportunity to do a plug for your website.
It's poderlatinx.org.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we're at www, of course, .mifamiliaenaccion.org.
And also visit us at latinoloud.vote. And with that, we're going to close the session. But I would like to thank both of you in joining me for this conversation. I hope to have further conversations after the election, because I think that there's so much more to talk about, so much more work. The election is not the end of our organizing.
It's the start.
It's the start. And we have so much more work to do. So with that, thank you so much for joining us. If you like this content, please hit a thumbs up, and we hope to earn your subscription.